field changes, polarity of consciousness changes that emanates ultimately from the highest level of the cosmic tree of life. And we then are in resonance with this, and whenever a cosmic shift happens, we will be influenced with it. But yet, there is to some extent our choice whether to act on this or not, whether to really truly absorb it or not, and so forth. But it's not, I would say the answer is it happens both on the cosmic level and on our own level because of the kind of holographic nature of the universe, where we're all in resonance with the ultimate source, the Hunab-Ku, the cosmic tree of life.
Do you have any thoughts on when we might potentially meet, if you believe they're out there, our galactic neighbors? I know that some of the work that Ian Lungold did, who passed away obviously many years ago now, talked a little bit about these kinds of ideas, that there might be a point in time here as well when we are introduced to the fact that there might be more life out there. I bring this question up because now recently in the news and in the mainstream media, this question has actually actively been pushed, if you will. And do you think that this is part of the evolution of consciousness as well at this level, that we might actually encounter other life out there? What's your view on this, Carl?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I in the theory about biological evolution that I'm presenting in my most recent book, The Purposeful Universe, life in the biological sense of it is not something that happened by accident here on our planet. Life has a cosmic origin. Life is created by the tree of life, and that is the intelligence and the heart of the entire universe. And the consequence will be that it creates life in a multitude of different planetary systems, not only in our own galaxy, but all over the universe. Yeah. So this new theory of biological evolution, which is sort of an exobiology theory, really gives a theoretical basis for why there must be extraterrestrial life forms, and because they're all driven by the same creation process that emanates from this central axis of the universe. Now, then comes the second question. Will we encounter them?
Yeah.
Which is something completely different. I personally do not have experience of any encounters with extraterrestrials. And I do tend to think that much of what people talk about as extraterrestrial entities, could equally well be talked about as different kind of spiritual entities.
Right, yeah.
You'll see a gray person, a gray spirit or whatever it is, and for some reason they label it extraterrestrial. Well, that's not enough for me, so to speak. But now, coming back to the question, if we can be certain now, which I think is true, that there is life of a higher level, of our own levels, especially all over the universe, you may be referring to, for instance, the fact that they are now finding solar systems on not so far a distance, maybe 20 light years or so from our own sun.
That's right.
Which resembles our own solar system and seem to be conducive to life. And so that's sort of one level of this inquiry. That next step is to see if there is actually oxygen in the atmosphere, and not yet have they found this, but that doesn't seem like an impossible task to accomplish. And so we may then start to get that kind of an evidence that indeed there are planets out there. Now, if I look upon it according to my rational understanding of physics, it still would be difficult to travel between these solar systems. But what I do think here is that the shifts in consciousness that are happening, they ultimately what they really are about is a shift in our perception, in our ability to see things. Every underworld, every wave carries a certain way of seeing, and if that shifts into a unity consciousness, I believe that we will also be able to see things, including regarding the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations and intelligence that we're currently not able to see.
Yeah.
So that possibility, I think, I'm not sure that we're looking in the right places in order to make these kind of communications and so forth. Something completely different may occur.
But it might be, at least at this point, then, that humanity is making contact with the idea of life being out there as well. If this is true with Gliese 581G or whatever they call this new planet here that they found, and some scientists say that there's 100% chance of life, being found here in this particular system. But what that means anyway is that we had at this point in 2010 come into contact with that particular idea. But is there anything specific as you see it in terms of the Mayan calendar or the unfolding of evolution of consciousness that points to this as well, Carl, that okay, we might begin to broaden our view in terms of the fact that we come into a universal consciousness, if you will, here?
Yeah, well, it's when I labeled this particular underworld, the galactic underworld, it might have been a little bit too, you might say, optimistic or a little bit too wide-ranging. But nonetheless, this is also an underworld that has carried a complete new search of exoplanets and a deepening of our means to analyze those. And so, in that sense, this wave that we're in now and coming to the seventh day soon, it has altered our perception, and it has increased our focus out there as being part of a galactic context of life. But the true, and I should, I'd like to emphasize something else here, that, if my theory about the Mayan calendar is true, then the entire universe is evolving according to the same schedule. And this is the schedule of the cosmic plan of the Mayan calendar. And what this means is that not only are we maybe changing our perception and starting to see new things out there regarding galactic life and so forth, but the same would be true for civilizations on other planets.
Right.
And they would also now be going towards this crescendo. That's sort of a logical consequence. Because, as you know, I look upon it as a cosmic phenomenon and not based on astronomical cycles in our local solar system.
Absolutely. And I wonder also as well here, in your new book, you talk about the cosmic tree of life. Your new book, again, is called The Purposeful Universe. And the cosmic tree of life, I wondered that idea obviously has been for a long time in the consciousness of mankind, as it were. It's an ancient idea, if you will.
Yes.
Yes. Does this mean that we're getting I don't know if this is the right word, but an upgrade of this idea? Is that how you view this, or is it a re-emerging of the concept of the tree of life that we might be entering into now again, or how would you answer that, Carl?
Well, if you read the book of Revelation, which sort of describes the Christian perspective of what they call the end times, which is really not the end times in the Christian tradition. It's really the birth of this new world, the new Jerusalem, as it's talked about in their language. Then you can see that the tree of life that existed in the book of Genesis recurs. And some of the very last words of the Bible warns people not to mess with the Holy Scriptures, because then they will lose their part in the tree of life. And so you really get the sense that in that end times, in the new world born in the Christian tradition, there's a tree of life in the center. It actually says so of the of this new Jerusalem, as it talks about. Mm-hmm. And this implies then that there is a recurrence of it. It's coming back. Not that it hasn't been there all the time, but it's coming back to our perception. And, you can only look at this partly very wonderful movie Avatar, which really, became a very big popular success. Oh, yeah. And if you just count the 2 first hours of the movie, it very rightly so. It was really very wonderfully done. And then comes this hour of typical Hollywood warfare, but that's only to be expected based on marketing calculations. Sure. But it really talks. The whole film is really about the tree of life.
Sure. Yeah.
And this is popular culture, really. It's not some minor sect or something like that. This is popular culture. It is coming back to our perception, and it's been gone from our perception for a very long time, and now it's coming back, and for good reason. And also, as my book points out, we may now, based on quite recent scientific mainstream findings, identify that the tree of life is not, as some might have thought, a symbol or a myth. No, it is the reality. That's what creates that's what mediates the intelligence of the universe in its creative abilities.
And do you connect this also obviously with the idea of the axis mundi then as well, that the tree of life has to do with the galactic center? Is that how you connect these things as well?
Well, in the same way that there are several different integrated or nested a hierarchy of different levels of systems, cosmos, galaxy, solar system, planet, organism, and so forth. Each of these levels, each of these systems is basically created around some kind of an axis. It's very clear in the system of the galaxy, where the entire galaxy's disk rotates around such a disk. Mm. But it's also true for the solar system, where the whole solar system rotates around the solar axis. And for our own planet, where our own life system, the Earth, Gaia, rotates around the polar axis, which is what was usually called the axis mundi in older traditions. And these axes, they exist on several different levels that are entangled, interconnected, and shift their polarities in synchrony according to the cosmic plan and the Mayan calendar.
Right. We in other words, we could take this down to the molecular level as well, almost, and see that this is a shape and a form that is replicated in different ways throughout creation and nature. So, in other words, it's something that isn't out there or in there. It's all over the place. In other words, right?
Yes, exactly. Everything is the tree of life, but you have to see how.
Yes.
Yeah.
What more can you say in terms of conscious co-creation and how you view that, and what you think an extension, if you will, or an implementation of that might look like? Are you specifically talking about things how we could personally change things in our life, meaning that we could create a world for ourselves which we which we favor. I don't mean maybe a whole planet here, in that sense, but I'm talking about a life that we want to have. If we look at it from a planetary point of view, and people who are living on this planet right now, it's difficult for many people to live the kind of life that they